Okay, welcome everyone to the weekly Yaakov class. We're not going to look at the clock to see how on time we are. It's a good thing Zoom doesn't tell you what time we're starting the class. Well, we start the class 8:15 every Thursday. Rain, snow, sun, or no
Legs.
moon, or whatever it may be.
Do you know what?
Today is
You're recording, so Matt help somebody up. When I was speaking to Yaakov, he said, in Israel is Purim
two
in one
days.
part of the city where the walls are built.
Yeah.
Then there's Purim is another time
Right.
when it's
Yesterday was Purim in Jerusalem. We had Purim 2 days ago in Jerusalem and some walled cities, which are walled cities. The Purim was yesterday, correct. So today is Thursday. We are at the 16th of Adar and March 5th, 2026. Welcome, everyone. L'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you, David, for the wine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'orei pri hagafen. Extending Purim, like they say, Gans Yor Purim. The whole year should be Purim. Thank you, Eliezer, for your wonderful performance on Purim. He was stand-up comedy. You should just know. Eliezer did stand-up comedy on Purim.
So you missed. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we are in the middle of the story. We are in the middle of the story of Boaz and Ruth. She's called Ruth with a TH. David.
Yeah.
Ruth with TH.
Ruth and Boaz.
Ruth and Boaz. Yes. So we were in the middle of this last week. We gave the whole background of the story. And this week, we're going to continue with the commentary on the story. We're going to be elaborating on different verses in Megillas Rus. Megillas Rus is actually part of Tanakh. Part of the Torah is Megillas Rus. We read it. Some communities have the custom. It's not the Chabad custom, but many communities read the story on the holiday of Shavuos, the holiday of the giving of the Torah. Because in that story, we see Ruth God, the Torah, and giving up a life of, which, by the way, no one knows that Ruth was a princess, and she gave everything. Go to end of Israel, following Naomi, without knowing what's going to be her future, without a much. And that being said, a holiday of Shavuos, to take that lesson that we should emulate the dedication for the Torah that Ruth had. So as we mentioned last week, part of the story, part of the narrative of what happened is that when she came back to the land of Israel penniless, she went to glean. Glean is a fancy word for collecting wheat.
Yeah, gleaning.
Gleaning. Wheat. So they should be able to make some flour, to be able to make some bread, to be able to survive. And that's where the story of Ruth really begins with Boaz, connection to Boaz. So we started last week, and we're going to continue that narrative today. So the verse says, "Vatelech vatovei vatalakit basoda." She came and she went, and she gleaned in the field. What does it mean? She came and she went. It should have said, she came and gleaned in the field. What does it mean? She came and she went. That word "went" is extra. Doesn't really fit in there. Every word in the Torah, or even in the Kesuvim, in the writings, is precise and comes to teach us things. And this word "going" teaches us that she actually came and went a few times before she began to glean. She didn't come the first time that she came to the field. She didn't right away begin to glean. Ruth. Why? What's the reason? And again, we were learning this.
Did you say she came and they told her, clean yourself up, make yourself pretty, perform your...
Does that actually happened a little later.
Oh, okay.
So now we're going back a little bit. After Naomi realized that this was Boaz, her relative, then she told her to change her clothes and get ready to go meet him. But now we're going back to the beginning of the story. When she went originally to go glean, it says she went and she came, which signifies that she went and came back a few times before she began to glean. Why did she do so? Ad shematza b'nei adam hamehuganim leilech imahim. I guess the the harvesters, those that cut the wheat, the just to give a little background information, I think you mentioned last week, I'm not sure. There's a mitzvah in the Torah called leket, which means when someone is harvesting a field, every time you cut, a couple of pieces fall down, those pieces belong to
The poor.
the poor, right? We mentioned it last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could. Okay. So now the way work would work is
Doesn't the corners also belong to
yes, correct. So now
them?
every harvester, the way in those days it wasn't done by machine. They didn't have any tractors. They didn't have any machines that just go and these days the same machine cuts the wheat, separates the seeds
Grain.
from it, the grain and chaff, and comes out ready seeds. That's not how it worked those days. People had those type of knives. It's like a sickle, a round knife, and they would manually go grab as much as wheat they could grab in one hand, and then cut it with the other hand, and then they would put it into bundles, right? No, because the wheat that falls from every harvester belongs to the poor people, and wanting to get the wheat right away, usually, let's say you have a massive field. So you have probably maybe 30, 40, 50 people with those sickles going, each one going in their own path, cutting through, right? The field. So each one would have one or two poor people tagging along, picking up from the floor behind him. That's how it would usually be. So Ruth came and went a few times because she didn't find somebody appropriate to follow. Now, it doesn't elaborate here. I would imagine that these people that were cutting the wheat weren't high class people or people with completely modest people or appropriate people. They were people that must have had maybe a stronger evil inclination, and if they would have a female tag along, it wouldn't have been so much fun for her, or it wouldn't have been so appropriate for her. So that's what it means when she went and came a few times. She had to find somebody appropriate to follow, maybe a woman, or maybe someone she was able to tell that
less aggressive,
or more appropriate. Okay.
So you have to use bond terms.
Okay, so that's the meaning of that verse. Let's move on. So the story continues that she finally finds someone to follow, and she starts collecting the wheat. Boaz, the owner of the field, and which was actually the leader of the Jewish people at that time, according to many commentaries, comes to the field to oversee the harvest. Vayomer Boaz says Lenare to his servant that was supervising the harvest. He says, who's this young girl over here?
Who's this young hot girl?
So the Gemara asks, this is the practice of Boaz to inquire about every maiden that he saw? Like, what? This is the leader of the Jewish people. He sees a girl and he right away asks about her. That's not appropriate.
She's in his field.
Yeah, but still.
She's an employee.
No, she's not an employee. She's tagging behind an employee.
But still, she's someone in his
field,
and he has a right.
Yeah, and we're not saying that it doesn't have a right.
Oh, okay.
We're not. We're coming more from the approach of this doesn't sound so appropriate or so kosher for this doesn't sound kosher for a righteous man like Boaz to inquire about the girl. He must have seen something that made him ask that question. So the Gemara says two explanations what he saw that made him curious, that caught his attention, that made him curious. The first answer is from Rabbi Elazar. Sorry, not Eliezer. Elazar.
I forgive you.
It doesn't say. It says Zvar Chachma Rabba. He noticed that she was smart and she was knowledgeable in Torah. How so?
How so?
Because the official letter of the law is that when the wheat, the ears of wheat, those pieces of wheat that fall down.
Kernels.
No, kernels are the actual things.
No, kernels are the part.
Right. But what's falling is the thing. I think they're called ears. Ears of wheat.
Yeah.
So the ears that fall down that the poor people are allowed to collect, officially, if one or two pieces fall down, you have to leave it for the poor person. But if when you're grabbing 3 pieces fall down together, The owner is allowed to pick those 3 pieces up. Only 2 pieces belong to the poor person.
Or
No,
one.
now because it's something so insignificant,
That's so small. Why?
it's so small that most farmers are not going to bother with differentiating. Oh, there it's 3. Let me get that one. Oh, that one is 3 over there. Oh, that was 2. No, okay, no one's going to do that. Piece of wheat is worth pennies, and no one's going to do that, right? And the poor people themselves were not knowledgeable with the law, and they would just take anything that fell, even if it was 4 or 5 pieces. They would just pick it up. Anything on the floor was mine. Anything that they get is theirs. That's what the way poor people looked at it. And that's what Boaz was used to seeing the poor people in his field doing. Here he comes to the field and he sees this girl collecting, and he notices that she's looking and only taking pieces of 1 or 2. Whenever there was 3 in a row, she didn't touch that. She left it on the floor because it wasn't rightfully hers. When he saw that, that's what caught his attention. And he said, that's why he asked, who's this girl? Has this knowledgeable girl in Torah more than any other poor person? What's she doing over here in my field? That's how Rabbi Elazar explains what caught his attention.
This is his explanation.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not really based on the Torah itself. It's commentary.
So most whenever we say people, the rabbis that give their opinion, almost always it's not their own personal opinion. Almost always it's tradition that they had received from their teachers. So he had heard from his teachers that this is what happened.
Do you understand?
It's not like he was guessing. Oh, I'm guessing this is what happened. He had the tradition, because something like that you don't guess. How would he to say that she only took 2 and not 3? It has to be said somehow. It's not something you make up by yourself.
She knew the law.
Right.
She was educated.
Right.
The workers were also. Does that mean when you glean a field, it's only for the Jewish workers, or is it only for everyone?
Well, the rule is that when it comes to charity in general, it's only for poor people. However, we don't turn away non-Jews for the fear of it's called Ava. We don't want hatred or anti-Semitism. It's a true concept. So if a non-Jew comes to your field, you don't chase them away and say, no, you don't have to come.
So, thank you for spreading that flag. Cough a little bit over there.
So that's practice. You got to get ready for the plagues.
Yeah, of course. So, I know the 11th plague.
Listen, that's what happens at the Chabad. They give and give and give.
So we can assume, based on what tradition is, she was a Jewess who knew the law, and the other workers were not Jews, and they were idolaters.
No.
You can't say that?
No. The workers were simple people, because most people in those days were simple. Scholars don't work in fields; they studied, and whoever didn't make it to yeshiva, they didn't have yeshivas in those days. So whoever wasn't educated, they went to work in the field. Let's move on. B'masni Satana, another additional answer to explain what caught Boaz's attention. Dvar tznius Rabbah. He saw how she was extra modest and how she was gleaning. If it was a tall piece of wheat that was still attached, the rule is, by the way, if you cutting and you leave a piece of wheat hanging, standing, sometimes you have like this random piece here and there, that also goes to the poor people. So whenever she was collecting wheat that was standing tall, she stood upright to collect those. And whenever she had to take from the floor, instead of bending down to pick it up, instead she did this interesting custom. She sat down on the floor, and then while sitting, picked it up. Now that is very modest, because when you bend down, you're exposing your body, you're exposing your legs. When you sit on the floor, then you're less
very unusual. You're modest.
More modest. That's right. So she did it in a modest way, and that's what caught Boaz's attention. Now it's much harder to collect from the floor. Every time you want to pick something up, you have to sit down there and then pick it up and then stand up. It's much harder, but in order to be more modest, that's what she did. That's what caught Boaz's attention and said, this is not a regular poor girl collecting wheat. She must be someone very righteous. Just from seeing that, he was already able to see that she was righteous. Now, he was a tzaddik. He was a righteous person himself. So he did have divine inspiration which means Ruach HaKodesh. He's able to see in the future, but not at the first second. He saw that caught his attention, and then he was able to zoom in, okay, like to say, so to speak, on her.
And
on her
zooming he did.
No, zooming in not what I meant. I meant zooming in her on who she is spiritually, and was able to see that they were destined actually to get married, and he saw that actually King David is going to come out from a union between both of them, and that's why eventually they got married. But originally, the first thing that caught his attention was this extra modesty that she portrayed. The next verse moves on.
And she wasn't a ganava either, that she would take it. If there was three, she would take it.
Right. She was not only taking what was rightfully hers. A couple of verses later, the verse says that Boaz called to Ruth and said, I want you to stay over here in the field. Don't go to other fields. I'll come stay if you stay in my field, I'll take good care of you, and you'll have success. Like we'll make sure you're taken care of. We'll make sure a lot of these poor people, when they would go to the fields, like we mentioned before, she didn't want to follow someone inappropriate. A lot of these harvesters were up to no good, and they probably would, I don't know, abuse, but they would take advantage of the poor girls or all these innocent people behind them collecting. So Boaz said to her, "You stay in my field. I'll make sure that my boys take care of you, and my boys will make you safe." And
isn't there a thing that I was taught? You are not allowed to abuse the poor.
I'm not allowed to. I did not mean to imply that it was an allowed thing to do. It was just something unfortunate thing that used to happen. People used to do it, not something that was allowed.
But as a Jew, you're not supposed.
Of course not. There's actually a extra besides oppressing any Jew, special for provision to oppress poor people and people that our hearts are down, and widows and orphans, etc. Okay, so Boaz says, "You shall cleave to my workers over here. You'll be able to stay here. Just stay in my field." Now, so the word that he used, "you shall cleave," that's not an appropriate word. Usually, the word cleaving refers to intimacy. It's something that's not
desperation.
It's not an appropriate word to use. So why did he use such a term? But the Gemara answers, again, Rabbi Elazar answers. Now he already had divine inspiration. He's able to see already spiritually things that the regular eye cannot see. And maybe he heard actually, when he inquired about this girl, he found out her story. That she was a Moab's princess, and she gave up everything, and she came with Naomi. And so now Boaz realized that she converted wholeheartedly. Some people, they convert only for the sake of marriage, which is not allowed according to Jewish law. You're not allowed to convert just in order to marry someone.
For the sake of marriage.
For the sake of marriage.
But Rabbi, Jewish marriage, by two people that are not compatible also happens.
What do you mean?
I mean, two people that are not compatible, get married, and, they also have problems,
I don't understand.
Right? Isn't that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying is that a non-Jew is not that is converting in order to marry a Jew is not allowed. Most Orthodox rabbis, when the non-Jew prospect comes and says, "I want to convert," one of the first questions they will ask, "Are you in a relationship with anybody? Do you know any girls? Are you dating someone or anything like that?" If they find out that is the case, they're not going to go ahead with it.
You just destroyed, all the actors in Hollywood. They only convert to Judaism to get roles.
Okay,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, but when it comes to the end of it all,
they divorce the guy and collect millions.
But they're hypocrites.
Oh, welcome to the club.
No, you're not a hypocrite. Don't give me that shit.
Okay, so when he found out that she converted for the sake of heaven, no marriage involved, she did it just for the sake of Hashem, then he said, "Oh, that means that I could go ahead and marry her."
L'shem
Shemaim. Yeah.
So what's this thing they have nowadays that if you want to convert, you have to live 1 full year as an Orthodox Jew, and then you're accepted as a Jew?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of them.
Maybe there could be some rabbis that say that.
Yeah.
It's not in halacha.
Don't worry, I'll make a Jew out of you again.
It's not definitely not a halachic requirement. It could be some Orthodox rabbis, if this is what you're saying is Orthodox. If rabbi want to test sincerity, so they added that term, but it's not halachically that required.
David, he's already a priest, and my friend over there can make him a high priest.
Speaking of getting high,
Okay.
I'm
So the verse continues and says, Boaz says, Le'es ha'ochel, when it comes to time of eating, Gashi halom, which means come. Halom is a fancy word for coming here. Come hither, is that how you said it? Hither?
come hither.
Come hither. The fancy word, halom, no, halom is the dream. Halom is come hither. We don't find that term so often. We do find that term when the prophet came to tell King David that Hashem is going to choose him and his family to be the line of kings forever. So David, in his thankfulness to Hashem, he said, he praised Hashem and he said, who am I that you brought me and my family to, and he used the word hither, that fancy word again. So Boaz, many years earlier, was already alluding to that word that David said is going to say many years later. Okay, the verse says that they were eating, and it says there that he tells her, dip your bread into vinegar. A random piece of information. The Torah doesn't say random pieces of information. Must be coming to teach us something. So Rabbi Elazar says, this is coming to teach us that when it's very hot and you want to cool yourself down, bread dipped in vinegar is very good for cooling yourself down. Okay, so next time the AC breaks, you know what to do. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani said, no, it's actually coming to allude to something else. Or maybe in addition, besides teaching you that it's good to bread dipped in vinegar is good for a hot day instead of ice cream. And he says another explanation, and he says you're going to have a son, it's actually a great grandson coming out from you, which is going to be, his actions is going to be as bad or as sharp as vinegar. Who's that referring to? This is one of David's descendants, the king Menashe. King Menashe was a very terrible idol worshiper king.
Are you talking about Manasseh?
Manasseh, yes. He was from the tribe of Judah. King David's
Split the kingdom.
no, it was split. The kingdom was already split earlier, but he came from.
He led the people.
He led the people to idol worship. He actually put up a idol in the temple. He had the audacity to do that, and he was the vinegar of the David dynasty. The vinegar of the Davidic dynasty. Dynasty. Okay, he said he then gave her to eat at this meal, and he gave her a type of food called kali. Kali is actually grain that you roast the actual grain instead of turning into flour. You roast the grain and you eat the grain like kind of like popcorn seeds, roasted nuts, popcorn seeds, something like that. I actually tried it.
That's like buckwheat.
Yeah, you know how like
I did it. We did it actually for Tu B'Shvat. We actually wanted to eat barley. We didn't have time to make barley soup. So how do you eat barley?
You burn the nuts.
You put it in a hot, put it on a low flame. You put it on a low flame and you keep on with a spoon until it gets brown, and we ate it. It's called kali. It was actually pretty good. It's a new taste. It's like not like something. It's a little bit like rice cakes. Similar to rice cakes, but it's a food.
But you eat it by yourself without anything else.
Some salt.
Personally,
You ever ate it as a kid?
I use pearl barley.
Oh, that's the barley we were talking about. What they sell other types of barley.
Yeah.
Isn't all barley these days pearl?
No. If you take pearl barley, it cooks very quickly. If you take unpearled barley, you'll be an old man before it's
ready. Okay. Well, we did pearl barley. Okay, let's move on. So he says he gave her the barley. She ate. She was satisfied and left over. 3 terms. Ate, was satisfied, and had leftovers. Those 3 terms teach us something. richness. The David dynasty is gonna have richness in the time of David. She was satisfied time of King Solomon and had leftovers in the time of Chizkiyahu. Chizkiyahu was a king, one of David's descendants, many years later. Some people say, a little different version, she ate, that refers to the time of David and Solomon together. She was satisfied, that refers to the time of Chizkiyahu. And she had leftovers, that's referring to the time of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, Rabbi Yehuda the prince, which lived many, many years later.
The Mishnah.
The guy that made the Mishnah, yes. He lived hundreds of years later. He lived the time when the Mishnah was put together. He put together the Mishnah after the destruction of the second temple. And he was extremely wealthy. Extremely wealthy. So much that we say that the stable boy, person that took care of the stables, collected the dung from the animals of Rabbi. So the stable boy's salary was that he got the profit from the dung. That was his profit.
Yes.
Is that always like that? Stable boy, that's what they got
Who's
paid?
that laid the golden crab?
So he sold it.
No, that's money.
He was more wealthy than the king that lived at that time. His name was Malka Shava, a certain queen, a certain king in Persia. He was wealthier than that king from the dung from Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's calf.
If you take horse dung or cow dung and you dry it, it's fuel.
Fertilizer. Also fuel.
Second.
Fuel,
It's
fertilizer.
like wood. It's like better than wood.
Right. Last summer, I went to, 2 summers ago, Lancaster. So there was a dairy farm. So it was amazing to see how they're profiting from all angles. So it's a dairy farm. But they're not just making money from dairy. They have their own cornfields that they grow the corn, so they have food for the cows. And the cows are producing milk, and the cows they also inject the cows to have babies, so they're producing also cows.
Artificial insemination.
Yeah, so they're having babies every day. Every time you go by in the tour,
And
there's always babies being born.
remember, you impregnate a woman or a cow, they give milk.
Right?
And with milk, you get cream and you get
That's
cheese.
what I'm talking about.
You get
A dairy farm. I'm talking about dairy farm.
And did
So
you
they're
do
profiting.
mitzvah tents with your Amish brother?
So it did, yes. So I did. So they're getting the dairy milk, and they collect the manure, the dung from the cows, and they themselves in the same little brother. They produce it and they sell and they use that manure for their cornfields. So it's it's like I love it. It's the idea of a factory, a live factory with live animals, and they're just recycling everything
off the grid.
Yes, off the grid.
This in Argentina they sing bosta is cow dung, and that's what they used to collect from flame, whatever, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a song that they even say that's soy bostero, that I work in that.
Right.
So wait a minute. You worked in a stable?
No.
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 I got an anecdote about a stable.
Like my dad took me to a stable, upstate, where they get the best fertilizer. It's like if you knew where it was, you knew where it was. Like nobody knew except for like a handful of people. Right? And we went there and we were knee deep in dung and we were like choosing the best fertilizer, for my grandfather's garden.
What do? You actually just put it down on the ground, or you mix it with?
No. There's like a place right here where they put all of it. And you put those extra pants on,
No, I'm saying, how do you use it for fertilizer? You take it and then you
mix it with
dry
the
it.
ground.
mix it with the oil, with the soil.
With the soil, right?
But what if it's already ground? What do?
What if it's already on the ground?
You already have ground,
Right.
You have
stick
manure
it
on
in
the ground?
Soil.
No.
Yeah, you mix
stick it in. Yeah,
You mix it because you have to turn over the
You
soil
have to turn
anyway.
off the soil.
Oh, so when you turn over the
So
soil,
mix it in.
that's what you do.
I got two.
Listen,
What story?
where else is the fertilizer gonna go?
Right. Okay. So we're gonna stop
Goes
over
to
here. You
China,
want to say?
they sell it to us.
We end off by talking about fertilizer.